Okay, got another review here. I'm going to be doing a review on the CZ75B. The example I've got here is safety checked, and it is 40 caliber. It is in their two-tone finish, which is the satin nickel with a matte black blue slide. I believe this is an actual bluing process that is just done in a way to make it black. It is not their polycoat, which is their standard finish. The polycoat is a sprayed on applied epoxy finish that they bake into place, and it is very tough from what I understand. One of the toughest baked on finishes, but maybe even tougher than Cerakote, or right up there with Cerakote, if not. So it's, if you get their standard black, don't worry, that's a good finish. Now, I don't believe this, like I said, this two-tone is available any longer. Now, pricing on CZ75s as of this video tend to be between $500 to $600 depending on the finish options. You can get stainless. I think stainless tends to be the more expensive. Maybe those might run up to around $650 for the stainless versions. And the basic model will be, with the black polycoat, will be about $500 to $550 depending on where you get it from and the prices in your area. So you're getting an all-metal pistol that is very well made for a very good price. The only other pistols that are comparable in price and the way they're made would be, say, something like a Beretta and their 92 line, and that has the economics of scale going for them because they have the military contract, so they are able to sell their pistols to the public for cheaper simply because they have such a high manufacturing rate due to their military contracts. So if you were to get something like this from other companies, you'd be looking at around $800-900 or more for this kind of a pistol like this. Well, maybe about $800, similar to a SIG's 226. Now, as far as the ergonomics, everybody loves to rave on CZ for the ergonomics, and there is a reason. You know, they simply are very ergonomic pistols. The back has this nice little swell that fills into your palms very well, and the grip angle and overall size and shape is very, very nice. They come standard with in their basic models with a plastic panels for the grips. They also have a basic rubber version available, and on some of their models, their SPO1 comes with the rubber grips, I know, and they're pretty nice. The plastic ones, they work, they're functional, they're not horrible, but if you can get the set of rubberized grip panels, that's better. As far as controls and everything, this is a double action, single action pistol, and where the first shot can be double action with a long heavy trigger pull, and then subsequent shots will be in single action. But unlike most double action single actions, which usually tend to be decockers, this has a safety. So when it's in single action mode, you can engage the safety and carry it cocked and locked. If you want to carry it in double action mode, you must decock manually. So you have to be confident and know how to do that when you have a live round in the chamber. It's not difficult to do, but practice just to be on the safe side. That way you can figure it out. There is a safety notch. As you can see, there's a safety notch. It will not go all the way down. And the decocker models actually decock to this safety notch, and that is a viable carry position for the hammer. And that's actually where I would choose to carry it if I carried these. So, controls on the 40 caliber version of the CZ75B, the safety is ambidextrous. In the 9mm version, it is not. If you want ambidextrous safety in 9mm version, you have to get the CZ85, which is basically the exact same pistol, but with the ergonomic safety. And there is also decocker models available if you would prefer a decocker model. The slide stop here is only located on this side of the pistol, and the magazine catch is not reversible on the standard 75B. There are other models, I do believe they're polymer frame models. It is swappable on their polymer frame models, the P07 and P09, which are also excellent pistols, and can be had for a little bit cheaper than these if you so choose. The sights are standard 3-dot sights. They are luminous in that they can be made to glow in the dark by charging them with light, but they are not night sights in their traditional sense. But they're not bad sights. They're easy to use, pick up, and see. And there are night sight options available if you want to use one for carry or for home defense. There are also compact versions and subcompact versions of this pistol. Now, as far as the trigger goes, the trigger can be very heavy and a little gritty and rough from the box. This one was actually very nice from the box, pretty smooth as it stood, but sometimes they can come a little rough from the factory. Most people that get own these report that after a few hundred rounds the trigger starts to smooth up and be very nice. Or you can accelerate this wearing in by doing a little basic polishing on the internals if you're capable, have the skills and tools to do so. The CZ75 trigger mechanism is a little complicated, so it is not recommended for most people. It's you may be able to handle, say, a Smith & Wesson M&P disassembly, but not necessarily this one. This just a little bit more fiddly. So if you're not comfortable, a gunsmith can tune up one of these triggers to be truly very good triggers, and places like CZ Custom and Cajun Gunworks can make one of these triggers absolutely sublime by polishing parts and actually replacing the hammer and sear with new parts. And I hear that they can get trigger pulls down to 2 pounds or so, or maybe even less for some of their competition guns, and they are probably some of the best double action single action triggers you will ever feel once they get tuned up. As it stands here, even with just the basic bit of polishing that I did, and also replaced the mainspring with a lower powered mainspring, the trigger is extremely smooth and nice. It's just under 10 pounds double action, and just around 4 pounds, maybe 4 to 4.25 pounds in single action mode. So here's the double action. No take up really, maybe just a tiny bit of take up before it picks up, starts to pull. Pretty smooth, and then it breaks. Single action. Pay attention to the trigger here, and there's some take up, and you're going to get a little creep, and then a break. That creep, there is a reason. Pay attention to the hammer here. Once you take up the slack and then you get to the area of the creep, that hammer starts to rock back a little bit. That is due to the sear and the hammer have been cut in such a manner to give it a very positive sear engagement, so the hammer will not slip off of that sear easily at all. It would take a lot to make that hammer come off that sear, and it's outside the realm of possibility of dropping it and other things that could make that happen. And they did that for a reason, for safety and things like that. This is a combat kind of style pistol. It's actually used by a couple countries. I actually believe North Korea uses these for their sidearms. But I did some work on this pistol, as I said, and did a little bit of changes to the sear and the hammer to get some of the camming back out of that. I probably reduced about half. I didn't want to go any more than that, just for safety reasons and longevity of the parts. I believe the parts you can get from like Cajun Gunworks, which are drop-in, actually take that to a neutral style sear engagement, which means there's no creep at all, and it just drops. When using it, you really don't notice any of that when you're actually using this at the range. I don't, and it definitely doesn't affect my accuracy with these pistols. They are extremely accurate, and I'm very accurate with them. So, a very good trigger that can be made very, very good to a downright truly excellent if you just want to put in a little work onto it and get in contact with a good gunsmith. So, as far as the function and reliability on this thing, we'll talk about how these things function. As I show, it's a double action, single action with the thing, and then with the standard double action, single action, but with a safety, and the safety notch being a viable carry position for the hammer that reduces the overall travel of a double action a decent amount. And as I think I demonstrated, the safety only works when the hammer's cocked. So if you do choose to carry it with the hammer down, you will not accidentally put the safety on. Now, reliability. This pistol has been excellent. I have a lot of rounds to this pistol. This pistol, at least 1,000 rounds through it, or more. Because I don't shoot it as much as I used to, unfortunately. So I haven't put as many rounds through it as some of my others, but I'm confident in its reliability. When I first got it, I had put several hundred rounds through it with no problems. And I went to a friend's house, and he was shooting it for the first time. And he brought out a box of old reloads that he had done when he first got into reloading, and he still had a 40. And then he had sold his 40 and didn't shoot up all his reloaded ammo, and he had up like a box left. So we shot that up, and I had 2 failure to extracts out of that. But the ammo, like I said, was reloads. They were from his early days of reloading and seemed to be on the hot side. So I can't blame the pistol for that, because since then, I have not had a single problem out of this pistol. So I am confident to say that that was an ammo issue. Now, disassembly. The pistol has a couple witness marks on the slide outside of right here. There's one on the frame and one on the slide. And I find if you put the hammer in half cock, that when you pull the slide back to line those up, when the slide actually hits the hammer, that is lined up. And doing that also removes the pressure from the hammer that's having to hold back, so it makes it easier to hold into place. I find what I do, some people, some reason, have a lot of issues doing this. I put my thumb underneath the back strap and use the rear sight to pull back with, because you have to push on the other side right here, that little nub, whenever you line it up. I find that it's a little too stiff to push, so by hand, even after several disassemblies, I just use the base plate of a magazine, give it a little tap, it pops out, then you have to just give it a little wiggle and pull, it comes right on out. Slide, then comes off the front in typical fashion. Now, CZs are known to be made well and finished well when where it matters. The outside, the visuals, it's going to look good. The inside, there can be some tooling marks in places that are not related to function, where it's mostly only cosmetic. But even then, the tooling marks I have in this pistol are actually minor. There's a little bit of boring mark here in at the dust cover area, and the slide has a little bit of the same for where the barrel rides, but it's minor. And typical disassembly of the slide, where the recoil spring and the slide just lifts out. There is a little bit of tooling marks in these areas where they cut out the notches for the controls and things like that, but it's minor and it's cosmetic only. The pistol lockup is the Browning design. It has the internal locking lugs similar to 1911's use, and it is linkless camming style. Modern or more modern pistols use the barrel hood to lock up into the slide as opposed to lugs, but it's not a reliability issue. It's a positive lockup and a very good system that's been in use for a very long time. And reassembly, typical semi-auto fashion. One thing to point out, I will point out, is the frame rails. It's been mentioned many times by many people. The rails on the frame are inside the frame rather than outside the frame. The rails on the slide outside the slide rather than inside the slide, which causes the slide to ride down lower into the frame. As you can see, it's not very tall at all, and the bore axis is actually very low in this pistol. I find that it does make a difference. Comparing this pistol to, say, my 226, there is significant differences in how the gun recoils. Now, reassembly, light up the witness marks, put your slide stop back in place, push it down, and good to go. Now, as I was saying, it's the bore axis is pretty low, and the recoil feels like it comes more straight back, so there's less muzzle rise, and it does tame the 40 caliber a bit. It feels like it comes back harder, so it kind of feels a little stiffer in the recoil than, say, other pistols like the 226 and other pistols, but it's not like it's increased recoil. It just feels different. But the way it feels and the way the muzzle tends to stay flatter, I do shoot these very accurately and very quickly with not a lot of effort. So if you don't like 40 in other caliber in other pistols, you may like it in the CZ. Now, as far as magazines go, I suggest when you need extras in addition to the 2 that you get from the factory, get GAR magazines. They are much cheaper than factory. They're about 20 to 25 bucks as opposed to the 40 to 50 bucks of the factory, and they are excellent magazines. GAR makes some of the best magazines you can get. So that's where you should get your magazines from if you, when you're looking. I also like the fact that they have, instead of a thin metal base plate, they have a larger base plate of plastic. The metal base plate sticks out, a little, and it gives a little ledge to keep your finger from sliding off if, you know, you have that kind of a problem. But it's thin, and it's not going to be comfortable if you have larger hands and your hand actually reaches that far down. This nice smooth transition, it is excellent. So my feelings on the CZs, I absolutely love CZs and the CZ75 line of pistols. They are really excellent. In fact, I like them so much, I have two. And I will probably end up at least with one or two more eventually. This one is in 9mm. As you can see, it has a scalloped front here as opposed to the 40, which has the extended rail here. Had no scalloping. I actually love the way the 40 looks. Actually, that looks good to me. But the 9mm isn't bad at all. This 9mm is in there all satin nickel. It is held up well. This is my fiance's pistol because she was not a fan of 40, so we got her a 9. And this is the rubber grips. They were mine. They were on my 40, but I prefer them, and we shoot the 9mm much more often. In fact, we've got several thousand rounds through this one by now. And as I said, reliable. Not a single malfunction with these at all. And I've used factory and hand loads through this. Every one is fled flawlessly. But I like this rubber. And she insisted that she preferred the Hogue that I have here that had finger grooves. She didn't like the finger grooves, so I smoothed them down, and she liked it better. And she liked it much better than the factory plastic grips, and refused to even try the rubber ones until I sneakily put these on one day. And we went to the range, and she tried it, and then actually likes the way these feel better because they have more of a palm swell. And now they're her grips, so I have to get me some more. And I really suggest the rubber grips if you're going to be getting you a CZ75. They're not bad, and they're cheap. 15-20 bucks for a set of these. Actually, I think some nice person had a set of these and gave them to me. So, excellent pistols, and very reliable, very easy to shoot, very accurate pistols. And if you can find them, they can be a little difficult to find locally sometimes, and you have to get them online, and sometimes even then they can be a little bit of a bear because they don't come in to the country in huge numbers like some other pistols do. The CZs and the P07 and the P09 tends to come in more often, I see, and they are a little less expensive. They are also excellent pistols, and they have the new Omega trigger in them, which the CZ75 can come in the Omega trigger, which is a simplified version of the trigger that is more consistently smooth from the box. So that is an option you can look into for if you would rather have a polymer frame, or if you would rather have the Omega trigger and they're all metal. It can be had. So many people have raved over the CZs, and for good reason. There is not much negative that you can say about this pistol. The only thing is that being double action, single action, and full size, the grip can be a little bit big for people with smaller hands, and the trigger reach can be a little far. But there are even solutions to that. So definitely worth having a CZ in your collection. And be careful, if you're like me, they start to multiply.